Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Saturday afternoon live stream for Week 7 of the 2025 fantasy football season. For over the course of the next hour and a half plus, we're talking all things fantasy football, preparing for Week 7. I know there are many of injuries and there are many of situations in which we are approaching going into Week 7 alone that are incredibly important. Even, with all the injuries taking place this week, just remember, next week is going to be way worse with 6 teams on bye. Many of us are going to have a hard time starting lineups, but either way, hope you guys are doing well. Yesterday, of course, I posted my rest of season running back rankings video. If you guys haven't checked that out, be sure to do so. Within the video, besides my individualized top 36 running back rankings, it also includes rest of season strength of schedule at the running back position displayed based on rushing statistics isolated. I talk about matchups all the time. It's incredibly important. So if you guys haven't checked out that section alone, I think it's incredibly vital to check it out for weeks 8 through 14, the remainder of the fantasy football regular season. And then for those of you who are preparing for the fantasy playoffs, weeks 15 through 17. Again, for the next hour plus, we're answering questions in regards to fantasy football. If you guys have a question, whether you do type it in the live chat or include it via super chat to claim priority in order to get those questions answered quicker, make sure you include all the formidable context within the question. What kind of a league are you in? How many points per reception you get? 6.4 point passing touchdown, all that kind of jazz, depending on the context of your question, would be greatly appreciated. Which Commanders wide receivers do we start? I mean, as of right now, it's Luke McCaffrey that would probably be the number one in my mind because of the touchdown relevancy that he has had within the offense. I know he plays less snaps than Chris Moore. Chris Moore is probably going to be on the field more often. But again, I think Luke McCaffrey, based on the role that he played last season within this offense, he is going to be inhabiting that Debo kind of role going into this week. The most valuable prospect in that offense, objectively speaking, is Zach Ertz. I'm sure we're all aware that that's probably going to be the case. But that's the number 1 and 2 options at wide receiver for them, considering the absence. And again, I will mention specifically a couple other injuries of note going into this upcoming weekend. I'm sure many of us are aware. Unfortunately, the reality of the situation of the Washington Commanders receiving core, Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, are officially out this weekend. Jalen Lane is another option there, but ultimately, if I'm looking to start a player out of that group, I'd probably go McCaffrey first, Chris Moore second, Jalen Lane third. Am I 100% satisfied with all 3 of those as startable options? No, but we will, of course, have them ranked in tomorrow's top 72 wide receiver rankings on Sunday morning via Patreon. And for those of you who sign up via Betr, speaking of, if you guys want those all-encompassing rankings every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, you can check out Betr. When I talk about all-encompassing rankings, I'm talking about every single quarterback's ranked. So basically top 32, assuming all is available, top 60 running backs, top 80 wide receivers, top 120 flex, top 25 tight ends, top 32 kickers and defenses, half PPR, full PPR. So if you're interested, all you have to do is sign up today using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of 10, and to make a first-time play within a real cash play, minimum of $1, picking more or less on 2-player statistics, and you'll be eligible to get those rankings sent from my email directly to yours every single Sunday morning. The only thing that is required is that, of course, you check out the map to the right side of the screen and make sure you are eligible based on age, based on location. And, of course, if you sign up today, you get a free $10. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and let's begin by talking about, before I get into a couple of these questions, really want to just go over a couple injuries of note. We are anticipating that Kyler Murray is not going to play tomorrow, okay? So if you guys are hoping that he's going to play for your lineup, don't expect that to be the case. He did not practice with the first team. It was Jacoby Brissett. For a second consecutive year in a row, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to clear the concussion protocol in less than 1 week. Expect for that to take place for those of you who have him on roster. Amari DiMercato is already deemed out, so Bam Knight and Michael Carter will be the 1-2 in that exact order. Bam Knight 1, Michael Carter 2, based on the goal line workload. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons, who will be missing Ray McCloud. He's going to be out for the team for a little bit of time, but of course, Darnell Mooney should be returning. So anticipate a little bit of a regression in terms of the overall workload share of Drake London. As much as we'd like him to get 15 targets a week, don't anticipate it. Their slot nickel cornerback is going to be out as well, Billy Bowman, for the Atlanta Falcons. So there's a possibility in which whoever's playing within the slot position for the 49ers, maybe perhaps we could, besides lining them up in the inline, maybe line up George Kittle in the slot. We could get some opportunities there. Expect for some success there. David Njoku is deemed out already. That was already designated. Trayvon Diggs is going to be out, so it'll be a little bit of an easier matchup for Chris Moore and Luke McCaffrey as well. We're expecting for Christian Watson to be out. Obviously, Dontavion Wicks is questionable, but nobody's really playing those kind of guys. Josh Downs is out. Ashton Doolin is out. Charvarius Ward, is out. Brock Bowers is deemed, as of right now, doubtful, so don't expect him to play, but I think Jacoby Myers might give it a go tomorrow. Outside of that, Garrett Wilson, Darius Slayton, Pearsall, Purdy, Ridley, Debo, McLaurin. Again, a lot of options out. Is there going to be a Hidden Gems episode? Not for this week. I posted my top 36 running back rankings for rest of season yesterday. Hidden Gems is probably going to be something that we talk about next week, primarily because next week they're going to be 6 teams on bye. And I'm sure many of us are going to need a couple deep options within that scenario. Okay. Now, with this all taken care of, let's go ahead and let's get into answering some questions. I know many of you sent those in. I greatly appreciate your guys' patience and supporting the channel in that regard. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up on screen like this, and we'll get into it right now, beginning with Xavier's question, who says the following. 2 questions. With the weather in Cleveland, does it make their defense more or less start worthy? I think it becomes more start worthy rather than if it was to be played in Miami. If it was going to be played in Miami, I would anticipate for the Cleveland Browns defense to be a non-starter within the given week. So as of right now, I think the weather certainly does negatively impact the offense enough to where I would be more willing to play Cleveland and Miami's defense this week in specific. As it currently stands for that game, the current weather report is 19 mile per hour winds, and additionally, definite rain showers. It says 77% coverage of the area. So I would anticipate it to rain on and off over the course of that game. It is in Cleveland. You got a dirt field. It's going to be a muddy situation there. Definitely a run-heavy approach probably from both teams with the occasional passes. Hopefully Harold Fannin, Darren Waller, guys that are, obviously catching the ball closer to the line of scrimmage will be a little bit more relevant in that regard. Achane getting himself receiving workload, etc. As for your next question, says, is Otton an auto start regardless of Ibuka and Evans? So Ibuka and Evans earlier today, according to the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, are questionable to play. That in itself is a miracle. The fact that Ibuka is even considered a game time decision going into Monday night. My thought process is, if either of these two are active, Cade Otton is not a startable option in my mind. Again, I don't expect Ibuka to be active on Monday. In the event in which he is, he's a superhuman. Evans is more likely to play, but we haven't gotten confirmation that that will be the case. So until I get confirmation, I'm looking for an alternative option, or we would theoretically look for an alternative option in the form of someone like Christian Kirk, who plays on Monday night. Again, do not forget, for the, I think it's the 4th consecutive week, we have 2 Monday night games back-to-back. It is Tampa Bay, Detroit, alongside of the Seahawks taking on the Houston Texans. So in the event in which you do not have the ability to play one of these guys, you would pivot to someone perhaps in the other game, Torrey Horton, Christian Kirk, etc. Or of course, you would just pivot to some other Tampa Bay receiving options if you have them readily available. But Otton, I don't think, is playable if either of these two play. Otton has only been really a fantasy force when there are no wide receivers out there for this offense. B-Stool Fanda sends it a question. Says in a half PPR, pick one, Burden, Mooney, or Coker. Okay, this is a really good question. I think Burden's a little bit of a lesser option now that we got confirmation that Colston Loveland and DJ Moore are both expected to play. It's not to say that Burden can't take one singular pass over the course of the game over the top of that defense and make himself fantasy relevant. He pretty much just becomes a Jameson Williams-esque receiving option. What I mean by that is, in the absence of a touchdown, we're in a really troublesome situation where in a half PPR, you'll probably get 5 or 6 fantasy points just off of his receiving statistics alone. In the event in which he makes that huge play over the course of the game, just like Demario Douglas or Kayshon Boutte were able to accomplish last week against that Saints secondary, in the event in which he catches a huge pass over the top of them, scores a touchdown, he'll be an 18-point player, but there's just so much inherent risk involved. As for Mooney, coming off of the hamstring, not as interested in playing him. Genuinely, I think I just play Coker. I'm not joking. I think that's the way that I go about it against the Jets as it stands. With McMillan probably tied up with Sauce Gardner for majority of that game, I think Jalen Coker's the guy to go in this direction with. If you want to take the high risk, high reward, you play Burden and try to go for it. Let's say you played against Jamar Chase on Thursday. You might want to go for the high risk, high reward approach. Like the Jeans sends in a question. Jeans, hope you're doing well. Says in a full PPR flex 2 between Pacheco, Whittington, Ertz, Henderson, and Kenneth Walker. Who I am sick of starting. Yeah, no, I understand. I will go ahead and I will kind of convey this report that I read, I think about 15, 20 minutes ago. Let me see if I can find it right now. I believe it is here. So Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak said, and I quote, he wants to give Kenneth Walker more opportunities, but does not want to discount Zach Charbonnet. So that report alone, just like, what are we doing? Like, it's either you're going to give him more touches or you're not. And it sounds like, oh, I want to give him more touches, but I also want to keep Charbonnet involved. It's like, okay, well, you can't, I mean, what are we doing? Come on. So anyway, tough question to answer. I think Zach Ertz is the auto start out of the group of options you have here. I think that's a given, primarily because of Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin being out. As for Pacheco, again, very much so touchdown dependent against the Raiders. It's not out of the realm of possibility, primarily because it is such expected to be such a one-sided affair within the given game. Henderson's a little bit sketchy, primarily because of the lack of utilization within this offense. Whittington, it's tough to tell whether or not he is going to inhabit that Puka Nacua role. Last season, when Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp was both out, the more relevant wide receiver between the two was Tutu Atwell. But Devontae Adams is primarily going to be, in my mind, that Puka Nacua option, where they will move him into the slot, they will move him out wide, they will utilize him in a different multitude of facets in which they have not exposed him to thus far this season because of Puka being active. So I think everybody will be secondary, obviously, to Adams, which may make them just not really relevant in the entire grand scheme. If it's me, genuinely, I play Ertz and I play Kenneth Walker, as sick as you are of starting him. My starting wide receivers are Lamb and Rice. J.K. Dobbins and Mason are my running backs. Tight end is Warren, and Caleb's quarterback. Beautiful. That's the way that I go about it. If I was to give you a third option out of this group, I'd probably, at that point, just play Witt. So I go Ertz, K9, Witt as of right now, and then I probably follow with like Hendo, Pacheco. That's the order. Thank you. Spencer James sends in a question. Spencer, thank you. Says in a 12-team 3-3 record, I got Dak, Herbert, JT, Bucky, Bam, DJ Giddens. Okay, so the backup for JT. Benson, CD, Rice. Is that Quentin Johnston? We have KB is either Kendrick. Yeah, it's probably Kendrick Bourne. Coker, Booty. We have Tyler Warren. We have Brandon Aubrey. Any trade suggestions? Do I start Kendrick Bourne with Mac Jones starting, or Quentin Johnston or Booty? I'm not too interested in Booty, primarily because of the overall weather impact of that Tennessee Titans game. As for Quentin Johnston or Kendrick Bourne, I could go, honestly, either direction. As it stands, I think with no Pearsall, Mac Jones out there again, I feel like it is the correct decision. Do I want to risk it and not play Quentin Johnston? I think there's a lot of merit behind playing Kendrick Bourne, but if it's my team, I'm just going to roll with Quentin Johnston. I think there is merit here, primarily because of the combination that they have displayed as of the last couple of weeks here. But I think I'm stubborn about it, and I just want to play Quentin Johnston because, I mean, without Charvarius Ward out there, I think it just makes it that much of an easier matchup for him in a game in which it should be a shootout against the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to a question from Dave, who says, in a half PPR, BTJ and... What the heck happened? Okay, never mind. Sorry about that. I'm looking on my other monitor and something spazzed out. I was like, what the heck? It's just a little glitch, no problem. Trade BTJ and Dowdle for Nico Collins. I think it just purely depends on what the rest of your roster looks like. Dave, let's see what the rest of your team consists of. Says I'm in a 10-team, half PPR. We have Josh Allen, Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams, BTJ, Flowers, Waddle, Gibbs, Judkins, Tyler Warren, Dowdle, or maybe it's Jalen Warren, but you put a T there, and I don't think T is close to J on the keyboard as far as I'm concerned. Dowdle, Addison, Golden, Benson, trying to trade 2 wide receivers for 1, which moves... Okay, so in regards to the specific trade, in which you have BTJ... Okay, I don't mind the trade at all, but when I look at your running back depth, right, you have Judkins and Gibbs, and then if you move Dowdle off roster, which I don't think is a bad idea right now, my only question becomes what happens when you hit a bye week? Because you only have Benson here. So if I look at the upcoming NFL bye week schedule, for every team's bye weeks up ahead, as it stands, the Cleveland Browns have a week 9 bye. And then subsequently, I believe, let's see where the Lions are at. The Lions have a week 8 bye. So my only question would be like, who is going to play at running back over the course of the next couple weeks for you in the absence of Dowdle not being on roster? That's my only concern, because you're sitting at a position to where you have a great roster Josh Allen, Rashee Rice, Adams, great wide receivers across the board. My only concern genuinely is if this is actually Tyler Warren and not Jaylen Warren, at that point I would be like, yeah, maybe we don't take this purely just because we're going to need Dowdle for each of the next 2 weeks to fill in. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Panthers have a week 14 bye. So you'll need Dowdle for the next 2 weeks to fill in for Gibbs and Judkins as they go on by themselves. If you have somebody else on roster that I'm not aware of that you weren't able to specifically add within the text of this question, then sure, we make the trade. We take Nico Collins there rest of the season, pass the bye. And of course, in an offense that is going to continue to funnel the ball in his direction. But in the event in which you do not have any other running back help, because Benson's going to be out until probably, I want to say, if I had to guess, week 10, most likely, maybe probably week 10 if I had to guess, because they have a week 8 bye based on the amount of time he's been out, because they have a week 8 bye that doesn't count towards his IR stint. So yeah, that's how I would go about this as of right now, Dave. Thank you. Gravity sends in a question. Says full PPR, start 1 wide receiver, 2 running backs, and a flex. Okay, let's see what you have available. We have Gibbs, Kamara, Monungai. I don't think Monungai is going to be worth playing. I think Swift is. I mean, we heard it from Swift's mouth himself. He's going to play, so I'm not too worried about that. Bam Knight, Charbonnet, Pickens, Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh Downs is out. So he's on the concussion protocol. He's not playing this week. And then we have Coker Whittington and Harold Fannin. Okay, so in a full PPR scoring format, of the available options you have, Gibbs has to play. And I'm probably playing him alongside of Kamara because of the full PPR circumstance. As for your next question in regards to wide receiver, we go to Pickens as the auto start. No questions asked about that. To which then we are looking for a flex. In my mind, it's probably either Wan'Dale Robinson, Whittington, or Fannin. I honestly want to play Harold Fannin here. I know that the weather in Cleveland is going to be a little bit of a mess, but I feel like with a heavy rain game, in that kind of a capacity, I feel like the tight end position is going to be his security blanket to move the ball in circumstances of second and third and long situations rather than looking towards Judy and or Isaiah Bond. Considering Njoku's out, and like I mentioned, the tight ends of the Cleveland Browns with Dylan Gabriel over the course of the last 2 games are averaging 15 targets per game. I end up playing Harold Fannin there as my flex alongside of, again, Pickens, Gibbs, and Kamara. Thank you, Gravity. Juice Vino, what's up, Juice? How's it going? Says, sup, Drew. Debo's out, full PPR. Judy, Dobbs, Evans need 2. Yeah, here's the issue. If you don't have an alternative pivoting option from Evans, again, like I mentioned before, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Houston, Seattle. Those are the 4 teams playing on Monday night. If you don't have an available option to pivot away from him, then of course you'll have to look and try to find one within the upcoming games for Sunday slate. I'm not playing Judy. You couldn't make me play Judy. I don't mind playing Romeo Dobbs there as that's your best available, and I'm going to try to push for Evans. In the event in which you have any opportunity, considering Deebo Samuel is out, if you can move him to your IR slot and go pick up somebody for Monday night, whether that be another Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver like a Cameron Johnson, a Tez Johnson, a Sterling Shepard, or look towards the other game between Houston and, of course, the Seattle Seahawks. Torrey Horton could be available. There's a possibility in which Christian Kirk is available. Those would be 2 alternative options in which I would pivot away from Evans in the event in which he is inactive. But these are the 2 that I would suggest. Can't make me play Judy. Subtay sends in a question. What's up, man? So Shaheed or Shepard? I'd rather play Rashid Shaheed. He's pretty solid. I mean, when I say pretty solid, he is their go-to in man coverage. And we're going to see a lot of man coverage from the Chicago Bears. They're running about, I would say, almost 40% man coverage this season. And if they're going to continue to equip their defense as such, I would anticipate for Rashid Shaheed not only to be that deep ball option, but a drag route across the middle of the field, finding himself, with the speed that he has. Yeah, I think that is the best of the 2 for sure. Thank you. Himmy sends in a question. Says, what's up, Andrew? I'm in a 12-team full PPR, 3-3 currently. I need a flex spot, but I'm not sure who to start. I've got Alec Iomanner, I've got Woody Marks, I've got Travion Henderson, Bam Knight, and Cam Johnson. Who do you pick? Well, Cam Johnson's probably not a startable option, primarily because we don't know whether or not Evans or Ibuka are going to be available. So considering that overall circumstance, can't go in that direction, to which we are stuck with these 3. We know that Calvin Ridley is out, but the rain in Tennessee, on top of the fact that they have a New England matchup, leads me to believe that Alec Iomanner may see a lot of Christian Gonzalez, and the game itself may see a lot of lacking in the passing category. So I'm not really interested in that either. To which it leads me to Travion Henderson and Woody Marks. In a full PPR, in the event in which the run game gets completely shut down and the Houston Texans lead to Woody getting himself a lot of receiving utilization, it would be fantastic. But there's so much that would have to happen in that case. There's just like a this, then this, then this, then this. Like, just because there's a possibility of it occurring, I mean, we could go in that direction. If it's me, I'm probably just rolling with Trey Hendo. I don't really like the idea of playing Bam Knight, primarily because of that Green Bay run stop. So I'll just go with Trey Hendo as of right now in a full PPR. Thank you. Adam Amar sends in a question. Adam, what's up? Says Coker season in a half PPR. Coker, DJ Moore, Harvey, Luke McCaffrey, or Hawk. Yeah, I'm not really too interested in playing Hawkinson. I will admit I think he is a better option considering we do have Carson Wentz starting this week and JJ McCarthy again missing another consecutive game. I have no interest in playing DJ Moore. That I will let him be known. I have no interest in playing Harvey either. So it's between Luke McCaffrey, Coker, and Hawkinson. As of right now, do I want to play Hawk? Let me see where I have them ranked in a half in comparison to one another. Yeah, as of right now, I'd probably just play Jalen Coker. Like, I could justify the idea of playing Hawkinson, but I don't think it's a great matchup either, specifically against that Philadelphia Eagles defense. They've been pretty solid in terms of stopping opposing tight ends thus far this season. Unless a touchdown was to be scored, and oftentimes within that Minnesota Vikings offense, the backup tight end is coming in there and stealing touchdowns. I'd either go Coker or Luke McCaffrey, to which, do I want to play Luke over Coker? That's something that I'm going to mull over for a while here. Let's see. Where do I have McCaffrey? Not Christian. Luke. Thank you. Let's move that. You know, because of the matchup with no Trayvon Diggs and, you know, Jaden Daniels having to throw the ball, I honestly probably just play Luke McCaffrey there. Adam. And I'll just go for the upside. Thank you. If you want to play Coker, I don't have an issue with it because those are my top two. I'm Gucci U Polo says PPR Debo's out. Start Luke McCaffrey, Ramondre Stevenson, or Zach Ertz. I would play Zach Ertz, considering the full PPR format as it currently stands. I mentioned to you guys earlier this week on Thursday's tight end and quarterback rankings video, in specific in regards to the potential of someone like Zach Ertz. And this was specifically even prior to the information of knowing that Terry McLaurin and additionally Deebo Samuel were going to be out. Last season, Zach Ertz against the Dallas Cowboys defense, 15.4 and 15.8 fantasy points. Again, the Dallas Cowboys have allowed the fourth most receptions to opposing tight ends this season. And in just the last 3 games, they have allowed 25 receptions to opposing tight ends. Expect for Zach Ertz to be a monster, especially in a full PPR. All right, the S-Box sends in a question. Says, speaking of, I'm actually curious. Hold up really quickly. Let me see. What kind of a better play do they have for Ertz's receptions? Ertz's is kind of a word, huh? You see they're playing it cheeky. They got 3.5 or 6.5. 3.5 is probably the take there, though. I like that. We'll go ahead and we'll put something together with that later on. Okay. S-Box says, I'm thinking about 2 trades in 2 different full PPR leagues. What do you think about number 1, Nix and Genty for Herbert and Barkley? Yeah, I'd rather have Herbert and Barkley. I prefer Barkley over Genty, and I prefer Herbert over Nix. I'll take that. Thank you. Next question. Flowers for Pittman. I don't mind that. I think Flowers is going to get back to his normal state of production once we do get Lamar Jackson returning. Let's see here. So Lamar is expected to return next week. And in the event in which he does return, I mean, the volume of opportunity that specifically Flowers has been exposed to in a PPR, the first 3 weeks of the season were pretty solid. I mean, every single game this season, he has been great. 7 catches, 143, 7 catches, 75, 7 catches, 74, 5 catches, 72, 6 catches, 46. I think we'll get back to the normal state of production, which was early on in the year, the 5 to 7 catch range, 70 plus yards every week. In a full PPR, that's 14 points. The only issue that revolves around that is the lack of receiving touchdown upside, which has always been the case. Because when they get down into the red zone, what dominates for the Ravens over the course of the last 5 seasons here is the running back position and the tight end position. And then, of course, they would rather throw a potential fade in the direction of someone like D-Hop or Rashad Bateman, etc. So, and considering they have 3 or 4 viable receiving tight ends on this team, I could justify it personally. I'd rather have Flowers rest of the way. But if you like Pittman because of the touchdown upside that he provides, then I don't really have much of an issue with it because I think they do have both very much a comparable value. But in a PPR, I do prefer Flowers considering Lamar's expected return. And I expect him to absolutely go scorched earth on every single team they play henceforth. Patrick 510 sends in a question. Patrick, what's up, man? PPR, my HN for Judkins and Mike Evans. I have Rico, Chuba, JCM, Diggs, Adams, Pittman, Coker, and Burden. I mean, I'm okay with the trade. I'm not in love with the idea. Like, I understand getting Judkins in return and Evans in return, assuming Evans is at a full health capacity, is solid. But I think Evans, like when I look at your wide receivers, right? I think Adams and Pittman, in comparison to Mike Evans, are just better options. Especially if, once we get to the position in which Ibuka and additionally Chris Godwin are fully healthy. I feel like, yes, Mike Evans is going to be fantasy relevant, but I feel like these two will be more relevant within their respective offenses in comparison. Even there's an argument to be made about Diggs, but that's still a to-be-determined situation based on how that offense kind of continues to develop with Drake May early on here. I don't mind the trade. I think it definitely does give you the required depth you need. If you are in need of it, let's say you're in a league in which you can play 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. You can make this trade, end up starting, you can end up starting Judkins and JCM every week and then play Adams, Pittman, and Evans. I'm okay with that, but then at this point, Rico and Chuba become a toss-up in regards to matchups. That's a to-be-determined situation as well. I don't mind the trade. I don't love it, primarily because I think you don't need theoretically to make that trade for Evans. But if you feel confident enough in which regards, like, let's say, for example, we anticipate Ibuka to, let's say Ibuka was going to go to the IR. At that point, I would say, okay, let's make this trade because we know we're going to get 4 or 5 solid weeks of Evans with no competition for target opportunity. And at that point, we're talking about 16 plus fantasy points per game in a full PPR minimum. If that is the case, then we can go for an Evans side. In the event in which that's not, which is kind of looking like it's going to be that way, I'd probably just keep HN, personally. Thank you. JK sends in a question, says full PPR Kamara or Devontae Smith this year, rest of season. It depends on what you need, genuinely. I'd probably stick with Kamara for right now because this offense needs to kind of prove it before I can roll in that direction. I think Kamara's touchdowns are really just a question of whether or not they're going to start to kind of tick in. I know that Taysom Hill continues to be relevant, but there will be weeks here where Kamara will get those touchdowns. And in a full PPR, if he's going to continue to at least be 10 to 12 points, when those touchdowns start to tick in or, bigger runs break out, I think he'll be a little bit more relevant. I don't know, man. This is a tough question. I feel like Evans, the way that Baker's playing, he could be, I don't know if he's going to be that good. It's kind of tough to predict that because Ibuka just kind of has taken over that number 1 role. I'm going back and forth on this, Patrick. Do I want to give away Achane for it, though? Yeah, I'm okay with it. Again, I'm not over the moon, but I'm okay with it. So if you'd like to make the trade, let's roll it. All right. It's just BT. Says Scat, Ladd, or Tedero McMillan. I'll take Scat and Ladd. Ted has Sauce Gardner. Not interested in that. I'll take the other 2. Thank you. Dave sends in a question. Says in a 10-team half PPR, we have Allen, Rice, Adams, BTJ Flowers, Waddle, Gibbs, Judkins, Tyler. Okay, we already took care of this one. Appreciate it. Okay, we continue on. Cowboys 955 says in a question. Oh, we're going to answer it. Says drop Bayshaw Tootin for Brandon Ayuk. Sure, I have no issue with that. Thank you. All right, let's scroll back up here. There was a lot of questions sent in, and we want to go ahead and catch back up. I know there are many of those questions. I got to stop being so long-winded. I appreciate you guys being patient. OJ Running says full PPR, Jordan Mason, Kamani Vidal, or Dobbs. I will take both of these. Give me Jordan Mason and Vidal. Thank you. Blazed says, what's up, Andrew? Pick 2. Please pick 2 between the Diggs, JCM, Dowdle, Golden, and Jacoby Myers. I'm not playing Jacoby. It's between these 3. I mean, I think Golden can be viable considering the slot position against the Arizona Cardinals has found a lot of success. But considering the circumstance, I'm going to play both of these. I'll take JCM and Dowdle this week. Thank you. Daniel Gonzalez says PPR, pick 3. Kyron Williams, Judkins, Breece Hall, Adunze. Of the available, I would play Kyron, Judkins, and Adunze. Breece Hall would sit on my bench. Thank you. Bryce Long says, I need one. Whittington, Tez, Booty, Hunter, or Hendy. Full PPR. I probably just end up playing Hendy there. I think there's a conversation to be had in regards to Whittington. I'm just worried that it ends up being Tutu Atwell as that number 2 receiver. It's just so hard to potentially predict as to how it'll come about. It's between those two. I'm not considering any of these 3 options. It's between Witt and Hendy, to which the way that this offense has functioned with Henderson, the lack of production in the run game, even though they're taking on the Titans, without it, let's just play Whittington. I've just convinced myself. Let's go Witt. I could go either way. If it was a half PPR, I'd just say play Hendy. But considering the receiving count, if he catches the ball 5 times for 50 yards, I think he's safe. Thank you. BT says Tua, Penix, Mac, Rattler, Young, or Wentz. Who should I start? I would play Mac Jones. Mac Jones will be number 1. I would go with Carson Wentz 2. I'd go with Penix 3. I'd go with Bryce Young 4, Rattler 5, and Tua 6. Thank you. IP sends in a question. It says trade Zay Flowers for ETN and Worthy. In a 12-man full PPR, my team is Bijan Montgomery, Rashad White, CeeDee Lamb, and Devontae Smith. Yeah, I would make that trade. The value that you get from ETN, his rest of season schedule here ahead is going to be incredible. On top of the fact that Rashad White, once Bucky Irving returns, loses value, I absolutely make that trade. Thank you. Felix Rodriguez says trade Achane and Justin Jefferson for Puka, Cook, and Rome. Yeah, I would. Absolutely. I think Cook and Achane have very comparable value. I think Puka Nacua is going to be the number 1 wide receiver rest of the season. So the fact that you get Puka and Rome for Justin Jefferson, who has quarterback concerns at the moment, yeah, I'll take the Puka side of this deal. Thank you. Death to Ming sends in a question. Thank you very much, Death. Says, I'm currently 2-4, but I've got the most points scored in my league. We've got Drake May Fields, JT Kyron, ETN Waddle, Lad McBride, and just traded Sutton, JCM for Amon-Ra. I like the trade. Thoughts? Yeah, I think it's overall you can afford to do it considering these are your running backs. Like if you didn't already have stud running backs, giving away the likes of JCM could hurt, but considering you do have JT Kyron, ETN, 3 incredible options for rest of season, I think that's a perfect trade for Amon-Ra's services. He's going on bye next week, but it's not a big deal. Says also need to figure out who to start at my wide receiver 2 this week. I mean, Amon-Ra is obviously going to be your wide receiver 1. Waddle, with the concerns of weather, I think I lean away from him. I'd go with Lad McConkey as my wide receiver 2 in LA. So Lad and Amon-Ra would be my 2 there. JT and Kyron will be my RB1 and 2. McBride's my tight end. May is my quarterback. And I probably just end up playing ETN in the flex, considering the Waddle weather concerns in Cleveland. Thanks, man. David Dooley sends in a question. Says, half PPR start 2. Sutton, ETN, Marks, Vidal. Thank you. Of these available, I'm going to play Sutton and probably it's between ETN and Vidal, to which I'm thinking I have, let's see, if I go to my week 7, Vidal. Yeah, I have Kamani Vidal ranked higher, and I'm pretty confident in that idea because of the matchup against the LA Rams run-stop defense. So Sutton and Vidal, David Dooley, would be my suggestion. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Bossa B, what's up, man? Says 12-team standard league. Wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb, Rashee Rice. Running backs are Rico Dowdle and Jalen Warren. I need to flex between A.J. Brown and David Montgomery. Wow. In a standard league, 0 points per reception. Would I rather go one? Honestly, in a 0 point per reception format, I feel it's just safer to roll with David Montgomery, considering he has scored a rushing or receiving touchdown. I think 16 in the last 18 games. Like it's just there's too much solid value of like, oh, I'm going to guarantee 10 points there. That being said, I think the grand upside belongs to A.J. Brown, to which looking at your roster, Jalen Warren's coming off a huge week already with over 100 on the ground. Rico's going to be really good. Rice and CeeDee are both going to ball. Honestly, it doesn't really matter which way you go. If it's my team, let me look at the injury report for the Minnesota Vikings. Just really quickly, just to appease my own brain, just to make sure I have all relevant information here. Where's the injury report? There's injury report, Vikings. Okay, Harrison Smith's going to play. I know that Van Ginkel's out, but that's irrelevant to the situation. If I'm you, I probably just roll Demo. Because if he scores a touchdown, it's going to be hard for A.J. Brown to eclipse that with just yardage. Thank you. Janik sends in a question. Says, full PPR. I need a high boom potential, one running back, one wide receiver, and a flex between Dobbins, Kamara, Quentin Johnston, Harrison Jr., and Addison. Okay. Dobbins would be your RB. Johnston will be your wide receiver. And I think you let me see here real quick. Harrison Jr. stats. I'm curious what Marv had prior to him leaving the game last week and how quickly. So about as of right now, between those two, I think if you're going for like Omega Boom, you go Dobbins, you go Johnston, and you legitimately go Addison there. Thank you. Colin Keller sends in a question. Says, I need to pick 3 in the for the flex. I have Tedero, McMillan, Dobbins, Bourne, Evans, and Ertz. Cool. Dobbins would be number 1. Ertz would be 2. And I probably tell you to play Bourne number 3 because I don't like McMillan against Sauce Gardner, and I don't know if Evans is going to play on Monday night unless you have a pivoting option. So Dobbins, Bourne, Ertz. Thank you. Arthur Myers Show sends in a question. Says, 10 team, I'm 3-3. Is Achane K9 for Rashi Jacob okay? Absolutely. It's not only okay, but this is a steal. Getting Rashi Rice and Josh Jacobs for Achane and K9, you've just swindled them because Rashi Rice is going to be like a top 7, 8 wide receiver rest of the season, and Jacobs is like top 5, assuming the calf is not a problem. Thank you. Curtis D. Watkins says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, pick 2, Worthy, Pittman, Keenan Allen. I think Pittman has to play because, Josh Downs and Doolin are both going to be out this week. So Pittman, Alec Pierce, and Tyler Warren all going to be that much more of an effective play this week. As for Worthy or Keenan Allen, I think Keenan Allen's matchup, considering we have the return of Kenny Moore, the upside, I think I probably... Look, here's the thing. I think Worthy has more theoretical upside because of the matchup, and then additionally on top of it, because they're going to light up that defense. But Keenan Allen is just like a safe full PPR. Like, I'm going to get you 10 points. If I score a tutty, we're talking about 16. To which it's almost where I think the floor of Worthy's higher. Actually, no, it's not even that the floor of Worthy's higher. I think the ceiling is higher because I don't know if Keenan Allen can just keep stringing touchdowns. Let's see here. In a full PPR, I probably just play Keenan Allen. I just want the safety there. I'll take these 2. Thank you. Failures no option says star 1. Waddle, DJ Moore, Coker, Jameson Williams. If I'm starting one out of this group, sheesh, brother. Look, I don't want to play DJ Moore. Out of Waddle, Coker, and Jameson Williams, there can be an argument made for JMO, primarily because Waddle, weather concerns, Coker, first game back. JMO could be a play here. JMO certainly has like that upside potential. If it's me, I'm going to wait until Sunday morning. I want to look at what the weather truly does look like in Cleveland. If it looks like it's a sustainable environment, then I will roll Waddle. Otherwise, I'll just go JMO there. Thank you. Angel Montero sends in a question. Thank you, Angel. Says, I'm on a 3-game winning streak. I'm going up against the first place team. Wish me luck, boys. I'm already got 43 points from Jamar Chase. What kind of a scoring format do you play in where you got 43, brother? Hey, bro, with Mike Evans questionable, if he doesn't play, who do I start in the flex in a full PPR? Kenneth Walker or Laporta? I have Tyler Warren as my starting tight end. I would probably position yourself. Let's see. Where in a full PPR do we have Laporta? Let's see. Sam versus Kenneth Walker. Okay, yeah. So, as I anticipated, this is the thing about Laporta. I mean, just any receiver versus Kenneth Walker. Considering he doesn't get much receiving workload, it's kind of hard to trust him. So, in the event in which Evans doesn't play on Monday, you just pivot to playing Laporta in the same game. Thank you. All right, Fantasy Forecast says trade my Bill and Diggs for Adams. Depends on what your running back depth looks like. If you can afford to make it, then sure. That says full PPR, start 2 running backs in 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. Okay, Fantasy Forecast. What do we have here? It says we have Rashad White, Javonte Williams, Judkins, and Bill. Okay. So as of right now, objectively speaking, these are your two running backs. Javonte and White, I think, have to play in this circumstance going into this week in a full PPR scoring format, especially considering both are very much so receiving upside players in comparison to Judkins, who, yes, has a great matchup, but evidently he's going to lose some value in the PPR capacity. That being said, I'm going to play Judkins in your flex, to which then we look at the wide receiver, and we have Amon-Ra and Sutton as that 1-2. I'm not playing A.J. Brown here this week. So Amon-Ra, Sutton, White, Javonte, and Judkins. If we move Bill and Diggs to get Adams, is it an okay trade? I don't mind it. I don't think it's an incredible trade, but I'm okay with it ultimately. I'm okay with the trade. I don't mind it. I mean, ultimately, the reality of the situation is he would probably play as your wide receiver 3. Am I going to start him this week? Probably at that point. I may consider just playing him over Sutton here. So I'd go Amon-Ra, Adams, White, Javonte, and Judkins. That's probably the way I do it. I don't mind the trade. That's fine by me. You lose a little bit of depth, so if you can survive in the upcoming bye weeks, depending on your win-loss schedule or win-loss record and the upcoming schedule, if you can survive that and depth is not like a truly vital thing for your roster, then we can make it. Says Titans, Ferguson, and Fannin. Who do I start? Yeah, Ferguson would play. Fannin would sit on the bench. Thank you. All right, Big Swole says trade Rico Dowdle for J.K. Dobbins and flex JCM, Rome, or Sutton. Okay, so yes to this trade. I will take J.K. Dobbins rest of the season. Now, as for playing JCM, Rome, or Sutton this week, I would honestly rather just play Rome out of the group. Thank you. I'm Gucci Upolo says in a 3-3 full PPR circumstance. Okay, what do we have available? Says I'm playing against Chase. I need upside. Okay, cool. Tedero McMillan, Ramondre Stevenson, or pick up Coker, Bourne, or Luke McCaffrey. I would legitimately pick up and probably play Kendrick Bourne. Genuinely. Out of the group. Thank you. Super Dave says, full PPR, I need one running back, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. We have Chuba Hubbard, Marks, Bam, Harvey, Io Manor, Luke McCaffrey, and Burden. Okay. So of your available running backs, I would honestly just play Chuba here as of this week. As for wide receivers, I will play Luke McCaffrey alongside of Burden. I'm not interested in playing Io Manor. And then as for your flex, I'd probably end up rolling with Bam or Marks. Let me see where I have. In a full okay, my YouTube just crashed. Apologies there. Let me reload that. If it's a full PPR league, I forgot if I read half or full. If it's a full PPR league, I'll take Woody Marks over Bam Knight. In the event in which it is not, then I will go in the opposite direction. Thank you. To try to fit it on screen here. We're going to catch up really quickly here. Alejo, I see you in the chat. Corey, what's up, my man? Okay, so let's fit this accordingly. Here we go. Going back up here. Yeah, full PPR. I'd probably just go Chuba and Marks, and then I'd roll Luke McCaffrey and Burden as wide receivers, and that would be it. Those are the 4. Thank you. We Buy Homes sends in a question. Says standard league, 2 questions. Start 1 in the flex and defense. Diggs, Hendy, Jordan Mason. Yeah, I'll take Jordan Mason there. And then as for your defensive question, Green Bay, Atlanta, Seattle, Browns, Dolphins, or Panthers. As of this week, I'd play Green Bay against the backup QB, Jacoby Brissett. Thank you. All right, continuing on, we had a question that came in from JP. Says, trade Rome Odunze for Bucky. My wide receivers are Rice, CD, Tet, and Diggs. Do you have Rachaad White? If the answer is yes, then sure. If you don't, I think there's a little bit of inherent risk there. I think you can afford to make the trade, and I don't have an issue with it. And as of right now, I think the value of both of these are going to be comparable rest of the season, to which once Bucky is back, he'll be great. But the question is, when does Bucky come back? Does he come back next week? Does he come back 2 weeks from then? 3 weeks from then? The sketchiness of that without having Rachaad White relatively scares me, to which I'd be a little bit hesitant. But I guess it depends if you need that running back depth for rest of season purposes and what your win-loss record is, what your running back depth looks like, etc. If it's all solidified to where you have White, you had a solid win-loss record, you can afford to not get Bucky Irving in the lineup sooner rather than later, then yeah, let's make it. Devin sends in a question. Thank you, Devin. It says Javonte for Egbuka and Vidal. Yeah, I mean, at this point, in a full PPR capacity, I know that Javonte Williams has incredible value, but once Egbuka comes back into your lineup, he's going to be more valuable than Javonte, and being able to kind of withhold Egbuka from the lineup and just fill it in with Vidal for the next 4 weeks potentially here, I think is relatively worth it. Curtis D. Watkins sends in a follow-up, says a lot of tight end opportunity this week. I have Otten. Thoughts on playing him at tight end or at the flex this week as well? I have Fannin, Mason Taylor available. Honestly, I'd rather play both of these over Otten this week. Genuinely, I think Fannin without Njoku is going to get himself a bunch of targets, and Mason Taylor without Garrett Wilson is going to get himself a bunch of targets. So these would be the two that I prefer to play a tight end and theoretically in the flex. All right, let's see here. Riyadh sends in a question. Says in a 10-team full PPR, start Marvin Harrison Jr., Keenan Allen, Jacoby Myers, or Golden. I would play Keenan Allen in a full PPR. Thank you. Stony and Bear says full PPR, 2 flex. Ertz, Mason Taylor, Coker, Jacoby Myers, and Chris Moore. Ertz has to play, and I honestly would play Mason Taylor next to him. Those are the two that I'm rolling with. In a full PPR capacity, those are your two most valuable prospects. Thank you. Gerardo, what's up, my man? Says in a full PPR, flex Dowdle, Bourne, Pittman, or McMillan. Pittman would be my probable play because of the full PPR format and the fact that Ashton Dulin and Josh Downs are both out this week. But Dowdle seems like he's an undeniable play, and it would be a mistake to not roll him. So considering what he has kind of earned his position as, I know Chuba Hubbard's returning, but he's also coming off of injury, so he's going to get himself a little bit less run overall. The Carolina Panthers running backs have had 61 total rushing attempts in the last 2 weeks. The fact that Dowdle's had 389 rushing yards, I kind of just have to play him at this point. So Dowdle will be number 1, Pittman will be number 2, Bourne would be 3, McMillan 4. Thank you. Corey Trevor Sports, what's up, Corey? Says figuring out my RB2 and flex for a standard league. Okay, we have JCM, Kamara, Dowdle, AJ Brown, pick 2. Yeah, I think you're in a pretty solid position here. Dowdle should play, in my mind. I think especially considering the matchup itself against the New York Jets is very much so, I guess, friendly to him. That in itself kind of just leans me in the direction where I'm like, okay, the Jets already have an advantageous matchup. On top of the fact that he's getting himself a bunch of run within this backfield, it kind of seems like that is a direction in which we could very easily find success. Of course, if Chuba Hubbard gets himself far more exposure to opportunity, it could hurt. But I think going in that direction, along with JCM as my flex, is the way to go. It says, already starting Adams, Allen, Lamb, and White. Yeah, I think you're in a great position. So JCM and Dowdle will be my go-tos there in the standard league. Thank you. Adam Amor says, I got Luke over Coke right now. Yeah, that's fine. Keep it as such. You're good to go there, man. Thank you. Andrew Mitchell says in a full PPR, I need 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and 2 flex. Team is in the chat. Thanks. Okay. We have Tat, Marvin Harrison, Diggs, Wanda Robinson, Marks, Mason Taylor, Fannin. Appreciate you. Okay. So in regards to the potential options that we have available here, I'm not really too interested in playing Woody Marks here. Of the available options, I would probably go towards Marvin Harrison as my wide receiver 1. Considering, again, the weather concerns with Diggs kind of scare me. Sauce Gardner here scares me here. I think Marvin Harrison probably clearing concussion protocol under the assumption that does take place. He would be my number 1 wide receiver. I would then pair him up with probably going tight end 1, Harold Fannin, Mason Taylor as a flex, and then I probably, depending on the weather, if it's not too brutal in Tennessee tomorrow, I play Diggs. Otherwise, I will pivot to probably playing Tedderell McMillan. Yeah, that's the order. So Marvin Harrison, Fannin, Taylor, Diggs, or Tedderoa, depending on weather in Tennessee. Thank you. Jalen Morgan says in a full PPR, Woody Marks or Kamani Vidal? I would rather play Kamani Vidal, and it's not close. Thank you. Michael sends in a question. Says stash 2, Coker, Higgins, Mooney, Spears, Iomanner, Miller. Okay. So Kendre Miller's not necessary because Alvin Kamara already said that he would retire if he gets traded. Iomanner's not really too worth. In my opinion, he's not worth it because we probably won't ever start him. Spears is an okay potential tether in a stash capacity, considering Pollard or himself could be traded in the coming weeks. Jaden Higgins is not worth it. So in my mind, again, Mooney's a little bit injured, but again, would take a couple weeks for us to kind of trust the potential of him to become a starting option. I think I'm just going to go with Coker and Spears for right now and just see if I can find any value there within those offenses, because from what Mooney has provided within fantasy production thus far this season, yes, there have been a couple weeks where he got a lot of target opportunity, but that was in an omega negative game script. In those capacities in which we are up ahead and they're running the ball heavily, he's less implicated. So Spears and Coker would be my ideas. Aldwin, what's up, my man? Says I'm 5-1. What moves to make in a full PPR to better the squad? We've got Caleb, we've got Kyron, Cook, White, Dobbins, Pollard, Sharp, Puka, Nico, Sutton, Tedero, McMillan, Golden, Pearsall, Ott. Okay, so as of right now, first and foremost, Kyron, Cook, White, Dobbins, Pollard are all fantastic. Sharp's great. So in terms of running back, like obviously Kyren and Cook are the guys that I want to keep. Rashad White, you'll continue to keep because he'll still have value until Bucky Irving potentially comes back or continues to further miss time. So he's a great starting option there. Dobbins is fantastic. So Sharps and Pollard, I think, are potential pieces to which you can either hold or you could try to ship off to an RB needy team. In the event in which like a Kenneth Walker manager's out there, you could go and sell Sharps to them. You could go and move, Pollard to an RB needy team, especially next week where there's a bye-pocalypse with 6 teams on bye. You can go to the teams in your league that are going to be missing players, may not have any starting running backs, and position yourself to ship off Pollard in that given week. Otherwise, in terms of wide receiver play, like Puka, Nico, Sutton, it's going to be really difficult to upgrade on any of those guys. Currently sitting at 5-1, I would look towards exploring the potential in which you can go get, in Egbuka. There's a possibility in which you could. I'm trying to go get players that are kind of like hidden value based on maybe missing some time here in the upcoming future. So if Egbuka is going to miss, it's not a problem. I can stash him on my roster and live with it. Otherwise, at running back, considering you have so many, maybe I just take like Dobbins, Pollard, and Sharps, or maybe I take White and Dobbins and Pollard, and I go get Derrick Henry. Like, I'm just going to start throwing pieces here because you have so many studs. Like, I know next week Kyron's going to be on bye. Cook will be available to you. White will be available. Dobbins will be available. So you'll still survive the week 8 bye-pocalypse, even with Puka out. Nico and Sutton will still be available. So you'll survive the bye-pocalypse next week, to which you could theoretically just go and send a couple of your running backs for Derrick Henry, go find an RB needy team and take their best RB by sending them multiple RB, like a full wave 3-for-1 if need be, or go try to trade for potential injured prospects like Egbuka, and in hopes that once he comes back, you'll pretty much have Puka, Egbuka, and Nico, and you'll never have to blink at who you're starting a wide receiver ever again. Jocko says, I need some wisdom in a PPR. Pick 2, Keenan Allen, Worthy, Kendrick Bourne. I think it probably just, in a PPR, it probably just ends up being Kendrick Bourne and Keenan Allen. That's the way I'd go about it. Thank you. I've gone back and forth on this Keenan Allen versus Worthy combo for a little bit now today, and I think I'm just established on Keenan being the play. Emily Doyle, what's up? Says, hi, Andrew. I got one question in a PPR. Sorry, one question per league. Excuse me. Marvin Harrison or Shaheed, half PPR. Oh, wow, that's a really good question. Okay. In the event in which he clears concussion protocol, I would play Marvin Harrison there. That's under the assumption he clears that protocol. We're good. He's available. Let's roll him. Next question, Trey Tucker or Zach Ertz? I'd rather play Zach Ertz. And the next question, Shaheed, Wanda Robinson, or Woody in the flex? At that point, I'd probably just go with Shaheed. Thank you. Velez 408 says Flex 2, Kraft, Kirk, Fannin, Io Manor, Chuba, Tootin, Algier. Okay, Kraft has to play. Fannin has to play. Everybody else in a full PPR secondary. Thank you. Eric Nixon says full PPR, Stafford or Fields? I think I'm a little bit crazy. I'm going to play Justin Fields there. We took care of this one earlier. We'll take Ayuk. Alejo says full PPR, Kittle or Kraft at tight end. BTJ McConkey or Olave in the flex. Wow. Okay. I would, as of right now, I'm going to play Kraft at the flex. I'm going to play Kraft at tight end. And then between BTJ McConkey and Olave, I'm going to probably... Where did I have BTJ earlier this week in comparison to Olave? Got him a couple spots ahead in a full PPR. McConkey, I have him two. Yeah, so I'd go with BTJ there out of all those wide receivers. So Kraft and BTJ are my suggestions, Alejo. Thank you. LZ7 says PPR 2 flex league. Okay. 4-2, trade Bucky for Henry and Evans. Yeah, immediately. Done. Finished. Thank you. I have Baker, Judkins, Dobbins, Chase, JSN, Fannin, Sutton, Vidal. Yeah, this trade just is an automatic take. I would rather have Henry than Bucky, and then being able to get Evans on top of it is a steal, especially in a double flex league. Brian Weiss says, I need one running back, one wide receiver, and 2 flex between Devontae Smith, Jordan Addison, Rico Dowdle, Woody Marks, Golden, and more. These are your 3. Especially if it's a full PPR, I would play Dowdle as your RB. I'd play Addison as your wide receiver, Devontae Smith as your flex number 1. And if it's a full PPR, I'd go with Golden as your flex number 2. In the event in which it's a half PPR, I could justify the Marks play, but I won't. So Golden, Devontae, Addison, Dowdle. Thank you. Jay Omo sends it a question. Says, traded CeeDee Lamb and Chase Brown for BTJ, Rico, and Bucky. Is that a dumb trade? I think it depends. Rico Dowdle would have to maintain the starting position outright, and Bucky Irving would have to come back sooner rather than later to where this would be worth it. I think Chase Brown, again, he's going to have a pretty relatively solid schedule ahead, but not enough to where I'm excited about his play. So CeeDee Lamb is really just the piece that you're losing here. And being able to get these three in the event in which you needed RB depth, and Rico and Bucky can, at least Rico can keep it up, not obviously to the point of 30 points per week, but maybe at least being, 13 points per week in a full PPR, 13 to 15. If he can keep that up, Bucky Irving can get back to being healthy, and BTJ can just take this breakout and just keep running with it, then it'll be worth it. In the event in which Rico falls to being the RB2, Bucky doesn't return for a couple weeks, and BTJ is just as consistent, then at that point we can consider it dumb. But until that occurs, for right now, I'm okay with this trade. Ferguson says Johnston, Sutton, Jordan Mason, or BTJ in the flex full PPR. Out of these available, I'd go with Cortland Sutton. Thank you. Adrian Sanchez says, pick 2, please, boss. Waddle, Pittman, Laporta, Kraft. Thanks, boss. Okay, so I think Waddle's weather concerns has me leaning away from him, to which I'd go Pittman and probably in the direction of Laporta here as the 1-2 combo. Thank you. Locane says, would you trade Mike Evans and Scat for Achane? I wouldn't. I would rather have Mike Evans and Scat. Yeah, I'd rather have Mike Evans and Scat. Thank you. Now, under the, let's say you're in a situation, Locane. Let's see. Do you have the rest of your roster? No. Let's say you're in a position to where, like, Andrew, I've got Rashee Rice, I've got Nico Collins, and I've got Rome Odunze. I don't even need Evans. This is just pure. And on top of it, I got JT as my other running back. All I'm trying to do is have the best starting roster every week, and my bench consists of insert stud here, right? Whatever the heck players you got. If you got studs across the board, you're playing in a 10-team, 8-team league, and you just got really lucky with how your team was able to stay healthy and who you drafted and who you picked up, and you're just trying to improve your RB, 2 or RB1 here, sure. But in the event in which you are starting Evans and Scat going forward, I'd rather have those two contributing to my lineup than just a singular Achane. Marcus, thank you very much. Sends in a question. Says, what's up, Andrew? I just got offered Sutton and T. Higgins for Kamara and Nico Collins. My squad in a half PPR. Is it a solid trade? I mean, I think it's a solid trade overall. I think the value which Nico Collins provides is certainly more than Sutton and Higgins individually. But considering the trend in which T. Higgins is going to go upon, Cortland Sutton is still very much so a valuable prospect. Both of those, in my mind, more valuable than Kamara going forward, to which I think this is a comparable, I think this is a fair, even trade. Especially if you are in need of wide receiver depth, I think it's fair. If you aren't in need of wide receiver depth and you're like, I can just live with Nico because I have two other guys on top of it that are solid, then you just keep it as is. If giving away Kamara is not a problem to you, and you have running back depth to also kind of justify it, then yeah, I don't mind the trade at which I'm bringing in Sutton and T. Higgins, because ultimately, in terms of the productivity of Cortland Sutton thus far this season in a half PPR scoring format, I would say that I think he's been better than, let me see here, than Nico Collins. Like Nico Collins right now averaging 11.8 fantasy points per game thus far this season. Yeah, Cortland Sutton, identical production. So as of this moment, if they're going to be, even if Nico is going to improve, which is expected, I think the separation between T. Higgins and Kamara is enough where I'm okay with it if you have running back depth. Thank you. Forecast, we took care of this earlier. Chris Kreider says, yo, which running back can I get for A.J. Brown in a full PPR? I'm down bad at running back with Dowdle, Henderson, Pollard, and Algier. I have wide receivers like Jamar, Addison, and DJ Moore, Pearsall. Thanks. I mean, if we're looking to trade A.J. Brown, I think you're going to have to do it on a week in which he produces like actual top tier level production. Like obviously he's coming off a week in which he had 14 fantasy points and Jalen Hurts missed them on many of opportunities to score. So maybe there's a possibility out there in which someone in your league believes in A.J. Brown more than you do at the moment, to which you might be able to, I mean, like at this point, if you can go knock on a DeAndre Swift door and explore that and get that to come back towards you, or a Travis Etienne, I'm just throwing out names. Again, these aren't guaranteed possibilities. Judkins, please and thank you. If there's a possibility in which you can go and acquire, I think at this point, I think JCM is a good grab. Just to put it up here on screen, let me just go ahead and swap this graphic real quick, just really quickly. And then let me add something to this real quick. So yesterday I did produce my top 36 running back rankings video. If you guys haven't checked that out, be sure to do so today. In regards to, let's see here. I need to find the video real quick. Here it is. So in regards to the rankings at running back specifically, if we're looking to try to move A.J. Brown, I would hope that I can get someone in the top 20 minimum, right? That's why I was naming JCM, Judkins, ETN, Swift. That's what I want if you need running back depth right now. Dobbins would be like the lowest of those options in which I would go after. But those are kind of the names that we should theoretically be searching for if possibly available. And then it says we have Dowdle, we have Henderson. Yeah. Have wide receivers like Jamar Addison, DJ Moore, Pearsall. Like this, I don't trust. This is okay for now. I think Dowdle will be fine. I think you can I don't think you can survive with these though. I think you're right. If you can trade AJ Browning and get one of those running backs like I mentioned, it's worth it, Chris. All right. Nick sends in a question. Says full PPR start 2, Nico Collins, Sutton, Pickens. I will play Nico and I will play Pickens. Thank you. Troll in 83s says half PPR Pacheco or Mason Taylor. I would legitimately rather play Mason Taylor. Zach says a full PPR trade Achane and Addison for Justin Jefferson, Caleb Williams, and DeAndre Swift. It says would be upgrading wide receiver and running back. I agree. Well, just looking at Jefferson and Swift for Achane and Addison, I would rather have the Jefferson and Swift side. So I'm okay with that. That works for me in a full PPR. Thank you. Abreu 68 sends in a question. Says full PPR. Pick 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. We have Kamara, Pollard, Henderson, Spears, Marks. Full PPR, Kamara and Pollard are probably... I'm not even playing Pollard. No, I can't trust it. I probably go Kamara. Do I want to play Hendo or do I play Woody Marks in this situation? Full PPR. Let's see. I think there's a lot of risk in both scenarios. For right now, I'd probably just go Hendo and Kamara. As for your wide receivers, Lamb has to play. If it's worthy A.J. Brown booty, I'd play A.J. Brown there. So I'd go Lamb, Brown, Kamara, Hendo. Thank you. All right, Roca sends in a question. It says PPR, full PPR, pick 1, flex Whittington or Luke McCaffrey. Jeez. I'd probably go play Luke. Genuinely. Dino sends in a question. Thank you very much, Dino. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and scroll back up to find your question. Dino says, give Genty and Dak and Diggs for Gibbs and Kraft. So Gibbs is better than Genty. And Kraft is just a matter of, do you need a rest of season tight end? To which my only question becomes, who's your starting quarterback to where you're available to give away a top 5 quarterback free of charge? That's my only question. Because at this point, Dak has been a top 5 QB. And giving him away for the upgrade here and getting Kraft, again, if you have another top 5 quarterback, you've got maybe Mahomes, Josh Allen, Mayfield, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, I think is fine. If you don't have any of those, I feel like maybe it's not full well worth it. Like, I'm going to have to play Stafford the rest of the season now. At that point, I probably just may not go in that direction. But if you're in desperate need of tight end and you can afford to make this move in which you're giving away Dak, then sure, I don't mind that at all. Frank, what's up, man? Says Wanda Robinson or Kamara in the flex. I'd rather play Kamara. Laporta or Goddard. Therein lies the trickiness of that situation, huh? I think they're both really good options. As it currently stands, I have Laporta 1 spot ahead of Ferguson in half and full PPR. So I'd probably just go Laporte there. Thank you. The Motivational Man says, I'm 6-0 full PPR. Rate my team rest seasons in the chat. Okay. Daniel Jones, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton, CMC, Breece Hall, Tucker Kraft, Vidal bench is Nix, Watson, Horton, Aaron Jones, Miller, Hampton. Okay. Yeah, look, once Hampton comes back later on in the year, him and CMC will be great together. You have Daniel Jones, which is okay. CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton is fantastic. Vidal is great until Hampton's return as well. You have Tucker Kraft at tight end, which is, again, going to be a top 7 tight end rest of season. I think you're in a great position. I don't think you need to make any crazy changes here. Obviously, I think you need to kind of keep Breece Hall until Aaron Jones comes back. Once Breece Hall has a huge breakout performance, I would look to try to sell him, though. Thank you. Emmanuel C. sends in a question. Says full PPR start 1 in the flex and drop 1 to pick up a defense. Judy, Woody, Brian Robinson, Hendo, Tucker, Io Manor, Burden, Booty. Tucker plays probably over everyone in a full PPR in this circumstance. Yeah, he would. So Tucker's my play there. As for who do I drop out of this group to potentially pick someone up, Brian Robinson I don't think is a drop. I mean, he's technically your least valuable prospect, but at this moment I don't think we're dropping him per se. I think if anything, the drop ends up probably being Burden because DJ Moore's not going anywhere. He's not going to miss time. So that's probably the direction I go in. I have CMC and Hawks get H-Han. Have CMC and R Hawks get H-Han. I don't know what that means. So in the event in which, I don't know what that question is. Totally confused me because of the autocorrect probably. As of right now, I think Burden's probably the least valuable of this group. He has technically more upside than perhaps Io Manor. So Io can be the drop. Burden can be the drop. Booty can be the drop. Any of these three, but Tucker's the play for sure. Thank you. Neil, 217, says, would you trade Lamar, Jacobs, and A.J. Brown for Purdy, CMC, and Keenan Allen? I would not. No. Thank you very much. I would not. Next question says, what is that? Trade? Oh, yeah, we already answered that. No, I would rather have the Lamar, Jacobs, and A.J. Brown side rest of the season. Thank you. King Alex says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, drop Spears for Mooney. Flex Dowdle, Jordan Mason, or Devontae Smith. Dowdle's my flex. Him or Jordan Mason. I mean, genuinely, I think both are going to be great plays, but I will go with Dowdle for right now. Drop Spears for Mooney. Honestly, until we get an understanding as to the current situation of Spears and Pollard and the potential trade capacity which they may exist at, if you need wide receiver depth, you can make this move. Otherwise, I'd probably hold on to Spears just to see what happens in the coming weeks in Tennessee. Vox sends in a question. Says, sold Genty, Herbert for Derrick Henry and Jennings. Alejo, this was a mistake. You should probably refund it as soon as you can, or redact, or do something. But if it wasn't, then I greatly appreciate that. Thank you, my sir. Okay, sold Genty and Herbert for Derrick Henry and Jennings. I don't know if Juwan Jennings is worth anything, but okay. Thoughts? I mean, as of right now, it's a 2-for-1. To which, if you can afford to move Herbert and not really pay much of a price because you have great options as your alternatives, then that's fine. Also, please pick two between Olave, Marvin Harrison, Keenan Allen. Olave and Keenan Allen will be my starts. Thank you. Suarez sends in a question. Says, out of the Rams, Bucks, and Washington wide receivers, who would you pick up as the highest upside and best plays of the week with injuries? Okay, so of these available options, I legitimately would go like Tutu number 1, Luke McCaffrey number 2, Witt number 3, Chris Moore 4, Cameron Johnson 5, Tez Johnson 6. Thank you. Darth Raider says, should I gamble on Egbuka? I would need I would need to bench Waddle. The weather scares me. For him, I also have Cade Otton as a security blanket. I don't expect him to play. I think in the next 24 hours, I think prior to even Sunday morning's games, we'll get an understanding as to whether or not he's going to play. I don't think he will. Hamstring injuries are no joke, so I would assume he's not going to play, to which you should probably prepare to either play Waddle or Otton effectively. But if you want to push it for Monday and see if he plays, if he doesn't pivot to Otton, I think that's fine because, of course, the weather concern. But I would wait until tomorrow morning. If the weather doesn't look horrible, then just play Waddle. Apple Season says, hey, Andrew, hope you're having a phenomenal Saturday. Can you read my second chat? Yeah, absolutely. Says, who are we starting this week, especially running back and quarterback? I'm thinking Chubb over Charbonnet. Okay, interesting. Caleb, I would not play Chubb over Charbonnet. That Seattle run stop defense is no joke. Caleb, Achane, Sharb, Nico, Devontae Smith, Kittle, Waller at the flex. Bench is Chubb, Hampton, Love, Purdy, Shakir, Tyjae Spears, and Waller. You already have Waller at the flex, so you're good. Yeah, as of right now, in your circumstance of one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, this is the correct lineup. Caleb, Achane, Charbonnet, Nico, Devontae Smith, Kittle, Waller. That is correct. That's how I would start it. Thank you. All right. Ferguson had a follow-up. Says Jones, Bijan, Dowdle, Rome, London, Ertz starting. Okay. Sutton, Mason, Quentin Johnson, and BTJ at the flex full PPR. Sutton is probably my highest ranked. Thank you. Stony and Bear sends in a follow-up. Says, In regards to my last super chat, Mason Taylor isn't available anymore. Plus, I'm at three tight end roster limit with adding Ertz. Thoughts? That's fine. I mean, I don't really mind having the roster limit there. If you have Ertz, it's great. I could grab Burden. I'd have to go look your prior question up, Stoney. So flex options. If Mason Taylor's not available, we have Ertz available. We can go Coker, Jacoby Myers, or Chris Moore. I'd legitimately just go Coker at that point. Thank you. Appreciate it, Stoney. Actually, I'm going to go Stoney. Okay, perfect. Moving on, we had a question from RM. It says, super flex, full PPR. I need 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex spots. Marvin Harrison, Diggs, Travis Hunter, Dobbs, Luke McCaffrey, Shaheed, Travion Henderson, Charbonnet, Bourne, Etienne, Vidal. Okay, got a lot of options here, a lot of players. Of the available, though, Vidal is my RB1. Etienne is my RB2. So those are my 2 running backs. If I'm only playing 1 wide receiver out of those available options, I would try to play Diggs, but in the event in which the weather is very much so troublesome, I would end up pivoting to Kendrick Bourne. To which then at that point, if I'm looking for flexible options, I'm most likely going to play Harrison alongside of most likely probably Shaheed Harrison, Bourne, Etienne, Vidal. That's the way I go about it. Thank you. All right, let me get to Alejo's question. Thank you very much, Alejo. That's incredibly generous of you. Says, I wanted to spread the love and flex. Okay, sounds good. Rate my team in a full PPR 10 team, 3-3. Made a ton of trades. My quarterback is Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff. We got running backs Christian McCaffrey, Gibbs, Cook, and Bucky. Hampton. Wide receivers JSN, Rice, BTJ, Ladd, Olave, Kittle, and Kraft are my tight ends. Look, here's the thing. When I look at the roster, Alejo, I think everyone can objectively say that you have an all-star team. Like, it is not really even close here. Like, when you have the potential of Jalen Hurts, who's a top 5 quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, Gibbs, Cook, who are all top 10 running backs. You have Bucky and Hampton, who once they do come back, and you have the ability to wait for them to come back because you have 3 Omega studs. They might not even ever play over CMC, Gibbs, or Cook, but you have them. Then you have JSN, top 3 wide receiver. Rice, top 8 wide receiver minimum. BTJ, hopefully top 15 rest of season. Ladd, hopefully top 15 rest season. Olave, who's balling out, who could be traded to the Bills prior to the deadline, fingers crossed. And then you have Kittle and Kraft. Like, what more could we ask for? The Seahawks score 10 points every week at defense. McLaughlin's like a double-digit machine unless it's last week. Really, at this point, you can make any changes you want. Like, if there's a player you're like, oh, I want to root for that player on Sunday, you could legitimately take like BTJ and Ladd and go trade for whatever, you want Puka, go trade for him. You could potentially, get yourself in a position to where you can send both those players for Jamar, well, probably not anymore after this last week, but you know what I mean? Like, you can do whatever you want at this point, considering how many studs you have across the board. So if there's a rate my team situation here, it's as good as it gets, brother. If I had this team in any of my leagues, I probably would just never look at it because the lineup sets itself. You know what I mean? Michael Harvey says, Hurts or Caleb? It's a pretty good question. I think as of right now, let's see where I have them currently structured out. I believe it's still going to be, I'm still going to go Jalen Hurts there. So I'll go Jalen Hurts there. Swift or Scat? Swift dealing with a little bit of a groin injury, which I know he's expected to play. If it's a full PPR, I'd probably just play Scat. If it's a half, I don't mind just going Swift there. Fannin or Taylor, I'd rather just go Fannin. If the weather's horrible, then you can just pivot. G-Man says full PPR, 2 running backs, and pick 1. Okay. 2 RB, pick 1. We have 3 running backs, though. RB2, pick 1. Okay. Never mind. I read it wrong. Dyslexia. Walker, Hendo, or Woody? I would play Kenneth Walker. Easily. Thank you. CK Dine says, better floor as my RB2. Judkins or Rashad White, full PPR. Floor is... Look, the receiving workload in a full PPR for Rashad White makes me think he's kind of the play. But if that... look, Miami can't stop a soul in the running game. So it's either that or I bank on the potential of the reception count. Let me see here real quick. Rashad White in the last 2 games had 3 and 4 receptions, 20, 30 receiving yards. So let's say his baseline floored there alone, he's going to get himself 10 points minimum without scoring a touchdown. Can Judkins score 10 without a tutty? Baseline. No, I don't think. I mean, unless Judkins sees himself, I mean, again, unless he's running through 50-yard lanes where no one's stopping him, the lack of receiving upside gives Rashad White the higher floor. I think the upside is on Judkins' side because Miami cannot stop they can't stop anybody. Anonymous sends in a question, says in a half PPR, I have Kansas City and Green Bay's defense. Beautiful. I need to take Rice out of the IR, and I want to keep my Green Bay. So should I drop Kansas City or drop either Bond or Jennings? Bond would be dropped immediately. Thank you. Follow-up question in the chat. Okay, let me look at it real quick. Also, Love is on the waivers, and Jalen is my quarterback. Should I just drop both defense and receiver and get Love and Hurts for the week 9 bye? Perfect. That's the way you should go about it, honestly. So in this case, yeah, I would just drop Bond and KC. I'm curious, in week 9, who does the Packers play? That's my only question as of right now. Week 9, they play against Carolina at home. I'll take that. That's fine by me. Let's make that. Thank you. Adrian Sanchez says, pick 2, Waddle, Pittman, Kraft, Laporta. Okay, so of these available options, which there are some pretty good ones here, Waddle is very much so determined on the weather tomorrow. If it's solid weather, then we can go in that direction. In the case in which it's not, I probably end up going Pittman and Laporta for right now. Thank you. Neil217 says, trade Lamar, Jacobs, AJ. Yeah, we already answered this. We're going to keep the Lamar side there. Thank you. Joshua Alexander says, Drake May or Dak Prescott this week? I would rather play Dak Prescott this week. Against Washington, indoors, shootout potential in comparison to the weather that may be implicated for that Tennessee game. Black Jesus says, in a full PPR, lay out 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. I have Fannin and Kittle. Sorry, I have Fannin, but Kittle is back. Don't want to sit him. I know, nor should you. Should I flex Rico or Fannin this week? I would rather flex Rico. Genuinely. Thank you. Carter Willis, if the weather was not a disaster, like if it wasn't going to be a guaranteed rain game, definite downpour, I would probably go. No, I wouldn't. Rico just gets the auto start because it's a Rico at this point. Carter Willis says in a full PPR 12-man, Wilson is out, McCaffrey or Shepard. I'd rather play Luke McCaffrey. Thank you. Ray Barrera sends out a question. Says full PPR, flex Tedero McMillan or play Sharps, Coker, or DJ Moore. In a full PPR, I'm not going to have Coker or Moore ranked higher than Tet, nor am I going to have Sharp. So I'm going to go Tedero McMillan there. Easy E, what's up, man? Says questions in the chat. Thank you, Easy E. Says standard. Wide receiver rank rest of season. Golden, Coker, Burton. Golden will be 1, Coker will be 2, Burton will be 3 in my mind. Just because there's so much competition for targets in Chicago. So Golden, Coker, Burton. Is that... Well, you know what? I think there's a possibility in which if it wasn't a standard format, if it was like a full PPR, Coker could be more valuable. But considering it's a standard wide receiver, Golden, Coker, Burton. That's the order. It says, I have it, and I'm starting in order. JSN, Quentin Johnston, Kendrick Bourne, Tedero McMillan. Yep, that looks right to me. I'm starting Goddard and dropping Waller for Kincaid. Am I dropping Waller for Kincaid? I think I'm just going to hold on to Waller for now. I just want to see if we can get another solid week here. Because if we do, I think at that point we just keep riding it. Especially considering Kincaid's dealing with an injury. Fantasy Forecast says Kirk is ruled out. Kirk is... What the flying... Hold up. Everybody stay calm. Let's see here. If I go to Christian Kirk... Ruled out. Wow. Okay. Good to know. So, more valuable stash, Burden or Higgins? You know what the issue is? Higgins doesn't play as the slot receiver. Like, Xavier Hutchinson gets more reps and snaps than Jaden Higgins. So, maybe the post-bye week kind of like favor that rookies get could be of value going forward for Jaden Higgins at this moment. But ultimately, like, Xavier Hutchinson is the wide receiver 2. Christian Kirk will be back. I'd rather have Burden as my stash there. Fantasy Forecast. Burden's the guy. William Long says, need two of Olave, Travion Henderson, and Bourne. Yeah, I'll take Olave and I'll take Bourne. Thank you, William. Appreciate it. Roma Dunes. That's a really... Listen, if that's not your fantasy team's name, then I don't know what you're doing, brother. That's clean. I like that a lot. Full PPR. Flex spot, Olave or Mason Taylor. I'll just take Olave there. That works for me. Also, where is Luke McCaffrey currently ranked this week? I haven't positioned him in an exact point, but if I had to guess, he would be in the... He's a low-end wide receiver 3. So somewhere between that 33 to 37 range. All right, scrolling back up here. I'm slowly catching up. Appreciate you guys being patient. Chief Perp says, good trade, question mark. My Christian McCaffrey and Adams for Jonathan Taylor and Rashee Rice. Yes, I think that's a solid trade. Jonathan Taylor versus Christian McCaffrey. I think once all the receiving utilization pieces of Pearsall, Jennings, Kittle, Purdy return back into the lineup for the 49ers, his receiving upside diminishes. And I still do believe JT is the better option between the two. And then between Adams and Rice, I'd rather have Rice rest of the way. That works for me. Thank you. Jennifer sends out a question, says full PPR flex Dobbins, Marvin Harrison, or BTJ. In a full PPR, I'd go BTJ there. Second option would be Dobbins. Third would be Marvin Harrison. Thank you. GK says May, CMC, Bucky Henderson, Woody, Benson, Vidal, Sharps, London, Rice, Diggs, Rashid Shaheed, McBride, Fannin. Week 8. Trade question mark. I want a better running back. Thank you. Okay. In the event in which you're looking for a better running back, I think it's going to require that you give away some pretty formidable pieces. Like, unless you're going to ship off Bucky Irving, I think Henderson, Woody, Benson are not going to pull any value. Sharps is only going to be valuable to the Kenneth Walker manager, and Vidal is only going to be valuable to potentially the Omarion Hampton manager. So you could go about looking at those teams, seeing if they'd be willing to give back a running back for these kind of players. But again, giving a running back and asking for one in return is going to be difficult, objectively speaking. So you're going to have to find an RB kind of strong roster in your league and probably offer wide receivers, to which you might be able to just go and look in the direction of shipping off McBride in order to accomplish this. That would probably be that would probably end up being the play. Now, if you're going to ship off McBride in a full PPR capacity, the running backs that I'm going to need in return, specifically just based off of the production at which McBride has functioned thus far this season, okay? McBride thus far this season is averaging 14.0 points per game. Considering the lack of consistency that there is at the tight end position, the running backs that I would need to probably score at least 16 to 17, maybe 16 points per game min. To which right now, the field of running backs that are going to be averaging that much in a full PPR are incredibly thin. Like, I'm talking about B tier and up is what we're going after. Now, if you're going to get one of those players for McBride, I think you'd be considered lucky. You probably would have to settle for like C tier options in the form of like a Judd, ETN, but that's up to whether you can sustain that, which you could, and it works if available out there. All right, continuing on, let's go back to this live stream. Let's see. Joshua Alexander says pick 2, Golden, Io Minor, Spears, Carter, Hunter. Okay, so of these available, Golden's number 1. I don't want to play Travis Hunter. I don't want to play Michael Carter. I don't really want to play Spears. I don't really want to play Io Manor. If I was going to have to pick between the group, I probably just go Carter there. So Carter and Golden. Smokey the Cat sends in a question. Says Henderson or Wilson if Jacobs is out. In the event in which... Yeah, Emmanuel Wilson would be the play if Jacobs is out, but he's not. He got a full practice participation yesterday, so don't worry about it. Drop one, Fannin, Pitts, or Taylor. I legitimately drop Pitts. I'm not joking. Neil D says Mason, Taylor, or Ertz. I'd rather play Ertz. Thank you. Franklin says, I need 2 between Tucker, Spears, Egbuka, Jennings, and Mason Taylor, full PPR. Thanks. Here's the issue. I don't know if Egbuka is going to play, and you don't have a pivoting option for him. So unless you have a pivoting option on Monday night, you can't play him. To which at that point, you're just going to play Trey Tucker and Mason Taylor and just keep it rolling. Chief Perp says start 2 full PPR: Rome, Judkins, Adams, and Nico. These are my 2. Nico and Adams full PPR. Thank you. Brody Guy says half PPR: Hunter, Henry, or Fannin. Bad weather. I'd still go with Fannin in bad weather because Hunter Henry also has bad weather. Alejo, again, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate the generous super chat. Jennifer says Bourne or Charbonnet. I'd rather play Bourne in a full PPR. Jennifer, thank you. Fam First says help a brother out. I need a W with the Knicks, Stroud, or Dart. I'd play Bo Nix out of the group. Thank you. Philip Zhang sends in a question. Philip, thank you. Half PPR: Otten, Booty, or Addison. I'd rather play Addison. Thank you. Austin sends in a question. Says, do I roll Evans or go with Devontae Smith, Jordan Addison, or Romeo Dobbs? I would just play Jordan Addison unless you have a pivoting option on Monday night that is comparable. I think at this point, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go Jordan Addison there with Carson Wentz playing at quarterback again this week. Steven Drake says, my man, in a half PPR, I traded Chase Brown and Io Manor for Gibbs. So did you Venmo them or was it like Cash App? Like, how did you end up getting Gibbs there, brother? Because none of this makes sense. Would you play Dowdle and Shuba together this week and going forward? I mean, at this point, if you've got Gibbs and Dowdle and your best available flex is Chuba, then yeah, you can play them both this week and you can play them both going forward under the assumption that there may be leakage. Like, I think there is a possibility in which one could steal the touchdown over the other. So there could be an opportunity just like in which you can play Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker in the same lineup, Gibbs and Montgomery in the same lineup to prevent any leakage. Emily Doyle says, drop Marvin Harrison or Shaheed for Keenan Allen. I would drop Shaheed for Keenan Allen. Thank you. Laylo sends in a question, says, full PPR, scared of Achane's upcoming schedule, losing record. Should I trade him for Hall and Rice in a wow, okay. Or 1-for-1 for Jacobs? I'd rather, I mean, let's see. Other running backs are Mason and K9. Honestly, I think both of these are great trades. I think the 1-for-1 for Jacobs is just an automatic. Like, I would just instantly take that because I prefer Jacobs. As for Hall and Rice, I don't know if I trust Hall's upcoming schedule either, to which I think I'd rather just have the Jacobs and just roll with that. If you want the RB depth because you don't want to, or if you want wide receiver depth as well because you're lacking a wide receiver, then you can go about it that way. But I think this is just the auto. Gerardo says, I got offered Dobbins and more for Dowdle. Thoughts? I mean, as of right now, I think Dowdle's value will diminish in due time. I don't think more is really of any value. It's just like Dobbins versus Dowdle. Who's going to be of more value? I think they're going to be identical rest of the way. So if you want to keep Dowdle, you can just keep him. I don't think there's an issue there. If you think that he's going to lose his value and lose his job to Chuba outright, then you would just cash in now before it's too late. Says follow-up question, full PPR. Would you flex Luke McCaffrey over Olave? No, I would play Olave this week, 100%. Easy E says, happy birthday questions in the chat. Thank you, Easy. I appreciate that. Says standard. Okay, so we took care of this question. Says, rest of season standard tight ends. Should I pick up and start Otten or start Goddard/Waller? Starting Goddard. Okay, you keep Goddard. Also, should I drop Goddard or Waller for Kincaid? No, I'd rather keep Goddard and Waller going forward. Standard league, you're good to go. Don't need Kincaid. Chief Perp sends in a question, says half PPR Sutton, Etienne, or Vidal. Half PPR between these available options. It's either Vidal or Sutton. Let me see where I have them ranked on Thursday, and let's see if I can potentially foresee a pivot on that. As of right now, between the two of them, I'd rather just play Cortland Sutton. That's my play as of right now. Thank you. Jennifer sends in a follow-up, says full PPR, Kendrick Bourne or Coker. I'd rather play Kendrick Bourne. Tight end Ertz or Fannin, I'd rather play Ertz. Thank you. Okay, we have effectively caught up slowly but surely. It is 2:30. I think this is about the time in which I'm going to have to close out today's stream. I got some things to take care of. I do appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel. I do see a couple more questions here, and I will get to them in just a moment. I do want to remind you guys, I will be back tomorrow live streaming here on the channel for 4 consecutive straight hours between the hours of 6 a.m. PST to 10 a.m. PST, 4 straight hours, because there is a London game tomorrow morning. The Rams taking on the Jaguars. Do not forget to slide up your lineups prior to that game taking place if you're going to be asleep. If you're going to be awake, please be sure to join us tomorrow morning. I'll be able to answer questions, get that all taken care of in regards to setting you guys up for success. Akuma with the final question of this evening says, Drew, in a 10-team PPR, Packers elevated Pierre Strong today. Jacobs may miss. I don't think he's going to. The primary reason why I don't believe he will is because specifically he had a full participation of practice on Friday designated. In the event in which he had not practiced Friday, I'd have felt very kind of wishy-washy on the potential of him playing. But considering he got that full participation, leads me to believe that he is going to in fact be playing on Sunday, and that the elevation of Pierre Strong is just an insurance piece for maybe another running back on roster. Follow-up says, if so, do I start Emmanuel Wilson or Kamara? In the event in which, let's say, for example, worst case scenario, Jacobs misses tomorrow, you play Emmanuel Wilson. Also, Chiefs or Browns with weather? I'd play the Chiefs defense tomorrow. Final question, Ibrahim says, is there a reason you think A.J. Brown duds tomorrow? I don't think he does. I have him actually relatively highly ranked. I just think that a lot of the comparisons that people were making on today's questions has it to where he is a lesser option comparatively. Otherwise, he's like a top 20 wide receiver in my book this week. So I think he's going to be pretty solid. Okay, really quickly, again, a couple reminders. If you guys want my Sunday morning rankings, be sure to go ahead and check out Betr. At the end of yesterday's episode, I put together 3 different plays. A lot of really good picks there if you guys want to go ahead and potentially tail those. Otherwise, you can go ahead and sign up today with code Andrew, get a free $10. And of course, if you follow these steps of depositing 10, making a play of $1, you'll get those picks sent to you from my email tomorrow morning. Or of course, if you guys are not interested in that or not eligible, you can check out the Patreon. That is down in the description as well for those of you interested. Thank you very much. All right, that's going to cover it. I appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your Saturday. I'm going to go ahead and cue the one and only Double Helix. Until next time, have a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Peace.